The Vampire Diaries spanned 8 seasons, 2 spin-offs and one massive fanbase that is still going strong today, 5 years after the show's final season aired back in 2017, and 4 years on from the highly successful spin-off The Originals finale in 2018. Now, although Legacies, the last and final spin-off, is performing well, it is greatly overshadowed by its predecessors because, honestly, in my opinion, that's where the greatest characters, storylines and overall lore come from. So it's those two shows that I'm going to be addressing today, in particular the most powerful vampires from both shows combined, basically the Vampire Diaries Universe. Now, with 8 seasons of the Vampire Diaries and 5 seasons of the originals, there's always been more vampires introduced as the seasons progressed, and actually one thing I really loved about the Vampire Diaries in particular, and something I believe really helped grow the show so popular, is the fact that there's always a bigger, more powerful vampire that comes along every so often. For example, first we had Damon in season 1, and Stefan couldn't beat him because Damon was stronger because he drank human blood. And then we had Catherine, and then the Heretics and Enzo and the Originals. So it's just one after another. It's like, what vampire is going to be next? There's just always someone else. So I thought, okay, I'm going to rank them. Now guys, I see all these top 10 lists and top 15 lists and top 20 lists, and you know what? It makes it way too easy for someone to make that kind of list, because nobody gets left out. Okay, yeah, one might be ranked higher than the other, but you get about 15 different vampires. So I'm going to take this to a top 5 list of the most powerful vampires in the entire Vampire Diaries universe. I'm taking no prisoners here, guys. I'm bringing you the ultimate list, and I know some of you may not be happy with the people I leave out, but anyway, let's kick it off with number 5. The Originals. Now, some of you may be surprised to see the Originals in at number 5, and the fact that there's more than one person in at number 5. Well, I've got legitimate reason for this. The original siblings are deemed as powerful as one another. They were created equally and, to be honest, can only defeat each other through their own personally developed fighting skills. They're called Originals for a reason. They were the original vampires, the first of their kind. All vampires in existence stem from one or more of the siblings, so it's kind of a given. Why wouldn't they be the strongest? They are immensely powerful, cannot be killed by any physical means, can compel other vampires, and are quicker, stronger and more agile than any other vampire around. They definitely deserve their place on this list, but you don't need to be a math expert to realise that they're in at number 5 and not number 1, which means there's 4 more vampires that are more powerful, so let's move on. In at number 4 we have Klaus Michelson. Now, Klaus is an original, that's true, and yeah, I did just have the Originals in at number 5, but in case I forgot to mention, Klaus is exempt from everything I mentioned about the original siblings being equal in power. Klaus is the first ever vampire-werewolf hybrid in existence. He is physically stronger than his siblings, is physically faster than his siblings, and has an incurable venomous werewolf bite that only his blood can cure. Many of you may have seen the effects of his bite already and the slow, agonizing death it causes the victim. This made the other Originals fear Klaus, and it effectively kept them in line. Klaus is the most dangerous of them all. His most dangerous trait was the fact he'd do whatever needed to be done in order to get what he wanted, even if it meant killing friends, killing loved ones, putting people in harm's way, and his ruthlessness at actually following through on the threats made his scenes incredible to watch. It's like you always knew something was going to happen when Klaus said it was going to happen. He was the most vicious, unforgiving vampire to walk the earth, and has brought with him 1,000 years of fear on the vampire world without any remorse. There was very, very little that could be done to stop Klaus, and the hope that many had over the years was just to slow him down. In order to get further enough away from him, he deservedly holds the number 4 spot on this list. Remember the very, very little that could actually be done to slow Klaus down? Well, basically all of that and more came from Klaus's father, Michael. In at number 3, an incredibly powerful vampire and one of the originals, Michael had a massive strength advantage over his children due to the fact he was an upgraded original vampire. He was also the first of the originals to complete his transition into a vampire and assisted his children with theirs. However, Michael quickly realised the unnatural abomination that both he and his witch wife Esther created and quickly sought to eradicate their mistake from existence. As you can most likely imagine, the original siblings didn't see it that way and evaded Michael for centuries as he held the only weapon capable of killing an original, the white oak stake. It's noteworthy to mention that his first target was the vampire we mentioned in at number 4, his own son Klaus. Now, Klaus always feared Michael due to his harsh mistreatment of him growing up. He received more punishment than any other sibling and he deeply resented Michael for it, still suffering the scars almost 1,000 years later. Michael was known as the vampire who hunted vampires, the vampire who wanted to kill his own kind. He had all the weapons of an original with an overwhelming desire to destroy them. With all the originals killed, that would in turn lead to the death of all vampires in existence, which would then see Michael's mission fulfilled. Then and only then would he end his own life, righting the wrong he and Esther made many years ago. He is not the person you want to cross and definitely deserves his place on this list at number 3. In at number 2 we have Silas. Now, this was a very difficult decision to even place Silas on this list. He doesn't exactly fall under the description of vampire because he was actually a witch. However, and this is a big however, he was the first immortal to be created from Ketzia's spell and did need blood to survive. He just didn't get round to drinking it first time. He defecated for over 2,000 years, but was seriously, and I mean seriously, powerful. For while Silas was not at the exact level of superhuman strength that the originals could show, and don't mistake me guys, he was still immensely strong, his psychic powers more than made up for it. Even if he was inferior, Silas could convince his opponent he was superior. He could convince his opponent he was faster than them even if he wasn't. He could convince his opponent he was stronger than them even if he wasn't. He could make them believe it. He was the most gifted psychic to ever exist and nobody has ever come close to the level of power Silas achieved. He had the ability to shapeshift into other people, had the mastery of creating incredibly realistic illusions as I mentioned, making others see whatever he wants them to see, for how long he wished them to see it. For example, he convinced Klaus he was dying, and on a separate occasion, created an illusion of Klaus having a white oak splinter in his back. He also made Bonnie believe she was suffocating to death. He could compel hundreds of people at once without even making eye contact. As I mentioned at the beginning, Silas was an immortal. The cure worked on him like it did other vampires, so technically it puts him in the same bracket as a vampire, which is why he sits on this list at number 2. My number 1 choice for the most powerful vampire in existence is the one and only Marcellus, better known as Marcel. This man is one badass vampire who refuses to die and everything he does has a chilled vibe to it. Marcel dominated the New Orleans sector with his massive coven of vampires, even harnessing his control over the witches too, permitting them to only use magic when he seen fit. He was the protege to Klaus Michelson, turned by Klaus himself. Marcel achieved all of this before achieving what makes him the most powerful vampire on the list. Marcel Gerard is what's known as an upgraded original vampire. He has all the strengths of the originals and more. He's actually faster, stronger, and more dangerous than all of the Michelson siblings combined. After taking the reverse engineered serum, Marcel became the apex predator, the ultimate vampire. He cannot be hunted, he cannot be killed. He was now the most dangerous supernatural being on the planet, equipped with an incurable hyper-toxic venom that not even Klaus could withstand. He was the only threat to the originals. The longer Marcel went on as an upgraded original, the stronger and faster and more experienced he became. There was no other spot on this list to give Marcel other than top spot. there you have it everyone, the ultimate top 5 most powerful list from the Vampire Diaries universe. Yeah, I know I left some big names out, so please feel free to give me your top 5 list in the comments section below. Or maybe you agree with my list but not in the order that it's out. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day guys. This channel is only new, it's only growing. Make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit that subscribe button, it really does go a long way. And I'll be sure to see you in the very next video.